Our Moscow correspondent Theo Merz is keeping an eye on this. He joins me now from there. Theo, Navalny's arrest triggered mass protests there over the past 2 weeks. His supporters called for even more protests today. Have many people turned out outside the court?
Well, it's very difficult to tell. There's certainly no one directly outside the court building because perhaps, as you can see behind me, there's a very, very heavy police presence here, and the whole area around the court has been shut off. So we've seen several people try to access the court. We've spoken with them. They say they want to come out and support Navalny, but they're not being allowed anywhere near the building. And despite this, there have already been more than 200 arrests this morning as the trial has been going on. That's before we've even had a verdict. So the police are doing a very good job in making sure there's no mass demonstrations here, but despite that, a large number of arrests.
What's come out of the courtroom so far today?
Well, we're about 2 hours into the hearing so far. Some rather incredible scenes in the court. As you said, the Russian state is prosecuting Navalny on the basis that he didn't turn up to his most recent parole hearings. They said that he was hiding from them. And Navalny's defense is that he was actually in a medically induced coma at the time in Germany, and that the state and police knew perfectly well where he was. So it remains to be seen which argument convinces the judge, or perhaps what the Kremlin has already decided, how they are going to react to this, whether he is going to get the full 3.5 years in jail over this, or whether against all odds he might be released. But that seems increasingly unlikely here.
Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny's notoriety has been growing over the years. We've seen these mass protests I was mentioning a moment ago with thousands of people arrested. Is Vladimir Putin finally starting to pay attention to the opposition movement?
Well, you know, Vladimir Putin always plays down the political significance of Alexei Navalny. He never says his name in public. We just heard from the Kremlin recently, from Mr. Putin's spokesperson, that the president isn't following this trial. You can believe that or not. But Navalny is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore, especially since this poisoning, since his return to Russia. And the president took the very unusual step of directly addressing one of Navalny's corruption investigations last week that was into Putin's property, Putin's own property, into a large house near the Black Sea that Navalny alleged was built using illicit funds and is now used by Mr. Putin. So there is increasingly attention, and like I say, increasingly difficult for the Kremlin to ignore.
Theo, thank you. Theo Merz, they're reporting for us from Moscow.